All right, Sean, let's try something. How many synonyms for angry can we come up with?
Mad, 1.
Okay, good. Irate, 2.
Livid, 3.
Irritated, 4.
Outraged, 5.
Enraged, 6.
Furious, 7.
Oh, snap. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rule Thirds podcast. And today, as we just said, so subtly in butter smooth segue, we are going to be discussing and reviewing the latest installment in the Fast and the Furious franchise, Furious 7. On that note, my name is Larry.
My name is Sean. What? Do you hear it? It's a sound of silence.
Mm-hmm.
Let me absorb it.
Uh-huh.
We love you, Max. We're kidding. Anyway, Continue.
Yeah. On that note, I don't even know how to say. Let's just cue the theme song. Wow.
I take full credit for that intro. By the way.
Yeah. Sean came up with that. Props to him. I think it turned out pretty good.
Or not, depending on what you thought of it.
Oh, okay. If you hated it, then yeah, you can buy your pitchforks and lighters here. Unfortunately, as you may have noticed, we are 2 for 3 today. Mr. Mariner cannot be with us due to his schedule getting a little busy. And
I killed him.
Sean killed him. And fun fact. This is the first episode in which he was unable to make it to the recording session. He was not. This is the second episode he wasn't on the podcast. He was not on the debate between Sean and Whitley on the Mandarin, but that's because we asked him not to come because it just didn't really fit with the discussion.
It was crowded, you know. It was a 2-person and moderator, not 4 people. So
exactly. So, but you can count it. Max will fight you tooth and nail. This is the only time he has ever not been able to make it. So, props to him on that note. But before we get into the Furious 7 review, we both have tons of thoughts. We can't wait to talk about it. I'm going to pass it over to Sean very quickly for the community segment on the last episode we did, which was SML Studios Action Movie Edition. So, Sean, take it away.
All right, well, we have a comment from Seth Campbell, who says, is Sean talking about what Psycho did with Janet Leigh? Yes. I believe he's referring to where she was like the star of the movie and then she was killed halfway through.
Correct.
So yes, that would be what we were going for in our hypothetical movie, which, what did we name?
Terminus.
Yep, Terminus. That's what we would be doing, yeah.
Correct.
Kind of shocking, wait, they're not the star? You know, that kind of twist. Mm-hmm. He said, have the villain be motivated by social Darwinism. I can't remember the villain. I mean, that could be solid motivation for a villain, but I don't think we ever really explicitly came out with a villain.
I think that's like a good philosophy to give, especially if we're kind of envisioning sort of a Joker-esque method to the madness.
What I love about villains is that they can take any completely legitimate philosophy. You know, you can really believe in some philosophy, and you can just make them see it in a twisted way. And so that could be an example.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm against social Darwinism necessarily. I haven't looked into it much. But it can easily be used as a good villain motivator.
Well, that is the power of perspective.
Yes, and he also says, I have to keep going, Larry, because we got
please,
long
go.
comments.
Go.
I'd like to see more action films to take note from the original Highlander, where it was done almost entirely with swords, and the only time guns are used, it's by a Rambo wannabe against the Kurgan. It doesn't work. I don't know. I don't know about Highlander. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I've never watched it either. Sorry. I will, though, at some point. I hear it's a good one. Classic, so...
Sure, and he quoted me saying, "It's a title; it doesn't have to grammatically make sense." I will hold to that. They don't necessarily. It's nice, but they don't have to. Okay, so now we have Whitley. We have our good friend Whitley, who says, "Firstly, I'll challenge Sean's roommate any day. Full Metal Alchemist greater than Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Secondly, I'll forgive you for mispronouncing Hisashi.
Just stop.
Even if he
Stop.
phonetically spells it out, I'm like, I don't know what he's saying.
You're probably
even
making it worse.
Proposal. Anyway, he has an idea.
Okay.
The name is Ultramarine, based on the book Ultramarine, which right away I think is already against our rules and has to be original. It's a sci-fi mystery thriller. Director is Rian Johnson. I know that name.
Yes, Looper. He's also going to be directing a Star Wars spin-off film.
Yep, good. The composer is Masaru Oshima. Don't know who that is. I'm sure you do.
Oh, wait, no. I'm sorry. Correction. Just want to correct myself. He's not doing a Star Wars spin-off film. He's writing the trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
my bad.
Screenplay is Ryan Johnson. I'm also familiar with that, but I can't place the name. You know?
Ryan Johnson?
Yeah, Ryan Johnson. R-I-A-N. Let me look it up really quick. Release date, July 2020, so this is a long game he's playing here.
Yep.
Oh, Ryan Johnson wrote Looper. So, did you just like Looper?
I literally just said his name. I don't know why I just blanked. Maybe because I was thinking about Star Wars.
It's the exact... Wow,
yeah,
I'm an idiot too.
Maybe
it's
just because I was thinking about Star Wars and it lost me.
Wow,
but yeah,
we're dumb.
Looper is fantastic. It was easily one of the best movies of that year.
Synopsis: In an underwater mining colony in the distant future, the son of a wealthy diplomat must try to survive an assassination attempt while simultaneously uncovering a conspiracy in the higher-ups alongside his martial arts-trained male courier. See, I was on board until that end, and then it got weird. So,
So what? It's
featuring the vocal talents. Yeah, it's animated. Cody Schmidt McPhee, I don't know.
I do. I can't place what he's done, but I've heard his name.
Okay. Mae Whitman, I know.
Yes.
Larry, come on. I missed the opportunity. I was hoping you would go, her? Anyway. Channing Tatum. Steve Bloom, and Tara Strong. I do know Tara Strong. She's good.
Tara Strong, who does?
Also featuring Todd Haberkorn and Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman, you can't go wrong.
Of course not.
And then the studio name is Fire Phoenix International. It's kind of like saying Scale Fish Domestic. It's a little repetitive, but
Scale
cool name.
Fish.
So let's go with the topic. That's the end of the community segment. Go, Larry.
Okay.
Topic.
Thank you very much, Sean. So today's topic is a review of Furious 7. Fun fact, we weren't planning on doing one because our schedules just kind of we just didn't really feel like pushing it in, but then we saw that it was making some serious bank.
It might become Universal's first $1 billion movie.
Yeah, it's quite incredible to me, to be quite honest. I didn't think the franchise was a $1 billion one, but
but apparently it is.
It is now, or at least it's almost surely going to become one. And it has one of the highest opening weekends of all time now, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 9th. I could be wrong, but I remember reading Box Office Mojo's report. So we had to talk about it. And the funny thing is that neither of us remember or / have seen any of the other ones.
Right, I haven't seen any.
I saw the first two, but recall nothing about them. So it's essentially as if I walk in blind. I was not focusing when I watched the first two. So that sort of pushed us even more to just, we're going to do this. We're going to go see Furious 7, and we're going to talk about it right here. So if you're new to this whole reviewing game that we do, our process is that we give little mini reviews of the film. First off, right off the bat, we give a score. And then once we're done, we go into spoiler territory for those of you who have not seen the film. So we are going to get started. Sean, would you like to go first?
Sure.
All right.
Furious 7 is not a movie that kind of, I'm not going to have many words for it because it's kind of simple. I don't say that as a bad thing necessarily, but it's not like for me to craft a thesis is kind of it's too much for what this movie gives. It's very straightforward. I enjoyed it, but it's nothing amazing. It didn't blow me away, but it didn't, it was very entertaining, and that's kind of what it boils down to. It's entertaining. There's not much else to it necessarily, so I feel like this is going to be a short review. So, yeah, that's really it. That's going to be kind of the theme of this review. I'll just kind of say some things.
What's your score?
I would have to go with a 6. Yeah, 6 out of 10. Maybe 6.5. Right. I'm indecisive right now.
Interesting. As far as I'll go next. Furious 7 surprised me in several ways. Some ways good, some ways bad. It almost evens itself out if it wasn't for the fact that, in my opinion, the film teeters on being self-aware and yet not. It thinks it knows that it's being what it is. It knows its identity, and then at some points it just doesn't. But I mean, I enjoyed it for what it's worth. It gave me an incredible movie-going experience with friends. It was a ton of fun. So for that reason, I am going to have to, as well, give it a 6.5 out of 10. So Sean's kind of going between a 6 and a 6.5. I'm a 6.5. You can sort of get an idea of what you're expecting. It is a decent film. For those of you who have not seen the film, unfortunately, this is spoiler territory. So we are going to ask that unless you don't care, you stop the podcast now, go see the film, and then come back later. So where do we even start?
Let's start with this. You don't need to see the other 6 movies.
Yeah, you really don't.
All you need to know... I mean, okay, luckily I knew this one plot point, which is the character of Letty was thought to be dead, but didn't die... amnesia. That's it. That's all you need to know going into this movie. And luckily, I knew that. That's it. That's all. And all you need to know is that they put Bart the Bowman in the hospital last movie. That's it.
Well, I didn't know that, and I eventually learned it. The thing about it, though, in my opinion, is I didn't really mind that much. But the movie doesn't really do a good job of incorporating the past plot details too well.
I mean, look, you're going into a movie called Furious 7.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
That's a high number. You know, it's okay that they just kind of rolled with it. In fact, it probably helped. I mean, this was a very long movie. It felt long, at least. And so that kind of helped cut down that runtime to not do a whole previously on Fast and Furious, or anything like that.
And I think the characters do a decent enough job of kind of establishing themselves. Just who they are as people. And if there's any other past plot points, I admit in the beginning it's a bit shaky. Like, if you don't know the whole amnesia thing, you might be lost.
It's a little confusing.
Yeah, but eventually, you sort of get an idea. There's flashbacks, and you sort of, you get the idea. There's this evil dude. He wants to kill all these people, and he's really good at it.
Let's start with that.
Okay,
awesome opening sequence.
Yeah, well, the one thing I didn't like about it was the annoying, speed up moments. Where, it would speed up. I mean, it's an interesting effect. It kind of was staggering to me. But I think Jason Statham totally pulls this off.
Jason Statham?
Jason Statham.
Jason Statham.
Statham.
Jason Statham.
Sorry. Okay. Jason Statham.
Jason Statham.
I think he pulls this off very well.
Yeah.
I think he does a very good job as the villain. The thing about it is there's not much depth to him. But I think that was the point.
Let's say that about most of the characters. I mean, that's the thing. They're not bland, but they're not deep.
Right.
They're varied, but not unique. I think that's a good way to put it. You know what I'm saying?
They're different enough that they distinguish themselves from one another.
You get it. You're watching, you get it. But you can't, it's not like I can sit down and say, yes, the defining trait of Mr. Vin Diesel's character in the Furious 7 film. I couldn't actually tell you. I couldn't tell you any of their defining feature. It's just kind of, but they feel varied. They're not all bland the same. They have emotional beats and different, things. It's not, none of them are flat and none of them are dull, but they're not, I don't know. I can't talk about them really.
Yeah, I think they, sometimes the script is at fault at times because there are some really bad lines in this film.
Pretty corny.
Oh yeah, it gets real bad.
They kind of just lay out some life philosophy.
Yeah,
that's super basic.
It gets real corny real quick. But I mean, for the most part, the actors do a pretty good job. I think. Jason Statham's character is not supposed to have depth because he's hidden. He's in the shadows.
I want to talk about his character really quick.
All right.
Well, first, I was stunned that Jason Statham had not been in a Fast and Furious movie previously. When I saw these trailers, I'm like, how has he not been in this series?
He fits in pretty well.
Yeah. But secondly, this was a very unique type of villain. Normally in action movies, it's hero versus villain. But in this case, this was kind of a jump in and out kind of villain, where he was the objective of the whole movie, get vengeance and stuff. But I liked how they would be dealing with something else, the mountain car chase trying to get she's in Game of Thrones. Ramsey, who funny enough is a character in Game of Thrones, but not the same. Anyway, that's coming back tomorrow and I'm really excited. So
all right, good for you, buddy.
They pay me money to do this, by the way.
Exactly.
But anyway, they're doing something unrelated, they're just trying to get her out, and then he just pops in, or they're trying to get this data from the car, and then he pops in. I liked that type of villain, where it wasn't mano a mano. He just came in and messed things up for the heroes. It was a cool, chaotic feel. Where it's like,
I guess so. I mean, I will
he kicks
say,
in the door, causes trouble.
Yeah, it definitely is a chaotic feeling. Unfortunately, after the car chase, once they go to that party, I was just sort of waiting. At that moment, I was like, all right, when's he going to come in and he's going to start shooting the place? I think that my issues with that kind of are from a plot standpoint, which we'll get to later, because I would like to talk about that a bit. But I do like Statham's character. I like how there isn't a lot of him because we don't connect with him, thus he stays in his villainous state, and we don't, it's not like, that's what his character's meant to be. He's hidden in the shadows. We don't know much about him, and that's the goal. As far as the rest of the cast is concerned, I think that they do a decent job on their own. I think that at some moments they could have gone a little deeper, but I think it's the last one. Let's just sort of pull another one and finish this off. I will give credit.
This isn't the last Fast and Furious movie.
Is it not?
No. This is about to make $1 billion. Why?
Well, I mean, one of the cast members is dead.
So? The whole point was that the characters left that character in a happy spot. They're going to keep doing their thing. Yeah, there's absolutely going to be an 8th Fast and Furious, which I don't know what they're going to call it. I don't know what they're going to call 9.
Yeah,
but they
seriously.
better call the 10th movie FFX.
Oh, yeah, totally. That's
call
definitely
it
what's happening.
I will sign like any legal document. You guys get to use that. Universal, call me.
Okay.
FFX.
Good. That's the official title, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I mean, I will give credit. This is a tribute to. I mean, a lot of it feels like a tribute to Paul Walker.
You know what? Let's address that now.
Yeah,
I mean, I was going to address at the end, but honestly,
I think we should address
elephant in the room.
Yeah. Okay. So for those of you who aren't aware, I don't know how you couldn't be at this point, but one of the actors involved in the Fast and the Furious franchise, Paul Walker, who plays Brian O'Connor, unfortunately died in a car accident. I believe 2013.
Yeah.
And it was a tragic event, and again, our condolences go out even now. But the movie, I feel, handles it pretty well.
Oh, I think that's probably the best thing this movie does. It handles it very, very well, and it's an expected. Of course, they weren't gonna actually just kill off the character,
right?
So it was kind of expected that it was just gonna be him getting out of the game. And maybe that's a good thread throughout the entire series, but I don't know. That is kind of an unfortunate thing here. But in the end, the final scene was actually quite touching, where Vin Diesel gives a speech about him not saying goodbye and all that, and he's driving off. But then Paul Walker pulls up in his car, and they have this one last kind of race, and then they're side by side. Vin Diesel's still monologuing, and then they just divert on different paths, and Paul Walker just goes away, and that's the final shot. Very tasteful, very touching, because I mean, again, it was kind of cheesy and corny if it was just in the movie, but everyone watching it knows the context. So it's very effective. I think it was because the context, Vin Diesel was very close, particularly if Vin Diesel was very close to Paul Walker. It meant a lot. So I appreciated that part of the movie, probably the most, honestly.
Yeah, they clearly have put a lot of heart into that. I think the montage might have gone on a little long.
Oh, I thought it was brief and it was concise, which is good.
It was very nice, and I think that Paul Walker himself does a pretty decent job here. For what it's worth, his character isn't given much, except for the whole wife and child thing, but they don't dive nearly deep enough into that than they could have. But again, the cast does a solid job. I think the only person who I think really I found sincere enjoyment in watching is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Always.
But that's
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is kind of my hero. The more I see him, he just seems this genuinely awesome guy.
The thing about The Rock is that he probably has some of the worst lines in this film in certain cases, but he knows it. He's the only person in this entire cast who knows the movie he's in a sense. He's given these really cheesy lines. His character is just he is just the violent badass essentially in this movie. That's pretty much it. And the friendly dude, which is pretty much what The Rock plays best.
Yeah.
In all honesty, if we saw anything from G.I. Joe Retaliation, that's a good role for him. But that line, "Woman, I am the cavalry."
So awesome.
That line will forever be embedded as one of the greatest cheesy lines of this year or of the last decade. and like that's an example of an actor who knows what he's doing, knows what he's, his identity in the film, knows the film itself, and we love it. And I wish the actors were more like
is
that.
The highlight.
Oh, totally.
In the cast.
And I just wish he got more screen time. That's the one
I wish
problem.
so too. I wish, he had an awesome fight at the beginning, then he was out for like the entire movie, and then he came with the climax, which I want to talk about, but we can do that separately.
Correct.
But yeah, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is awesome.
Yeah, he's great. I think he might have had something to do while this movie was being shot, hence why they hospitalized him.
San Andreas is opening pretty soon.
Correct. So they hospitalized him, unfortunately. But we do get some great time with The Rock.
Yes.
Lots of great sequences. So that's the cast for you. Let's move on to a bit of a different pace. Before we get to the action, which we will definitely get to, huge part, I want to hit on the plot real quickly, because that is where most of my problems lie.
See, for me, not so much. I think it moved fine. I think it did fall into there's one more thing. It felt like there were a bunch of endpoints. Inevitably, someone may point out, and probably Max listening to this, that I should condemn it for having a arguably triple climax. However, this is the kind of movie that kind of is a climax the whole movie. So I didn't feel necessarily a rise or fall in tension until the very, very end. That was clearly meant to be the very, very end. So, but I do, however, think that it's like, here's an amazing sequence. Wow, great way to end. Oh, okay, we're still going. And there's how it ends. Nope. Okay, another one. And that went on for like 15, 20 minutes.
Exactly.
The actual climax.
Yeah, I mean, we'll touch on the climax next, but my main issue with the plot is that the whole thing feels like a side mission. That's the whole plot. But the problem with that, I mean, like, I get that you might have to do that, but like, let's think about this for a second. Okay, so this Statham dude, shadowed, totally off the charts. All right, so how will we find him? Okay, we're gonna get this tracking device. Cool. But he follows them everywhere.
Yeah, they're not looking for him. He's looking for them.
So why do we need to go on this goose chase for a tracking device?
The logic leaps I don't consider legitimate criticism most of the time, and this is one of those times. This is Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah, I get that, but see, the problem with that is that one plot point is a huge, like, it's pretty much like 85% of the film.
Right, so here's basically how the plot's set up. Jason Statham, vengeance, and they're like, we need to stop Jason Statham. And this is like 20 minutes in.
Yeah,
and then this one guy comes up and says, I have a way for you to do it. 75% of the movie happens, and then they're back to hunting Statham. It is a side quest. It felt like the RPG where it's like,
it is a complete
if I'm going to do this for you, you better do this for me. Oh, well, if I'm going to do that, you do this. And it kind of kept getting smaller, and eventually it all came out. But yeah, I agree. The plot is a little like, I don't know, shouldn't this be...
Yeah, but it's one of those side quests, though. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's one of those side quests, though, when then the villain shows up out of nowhere because he just so conveniently happens to be where you are.
It's a little different.
And you feel like, why the heck did I just go on this huge side quest? It made no difference. That's the entire film. And it bothered me because, like, I mean, look, I get it. It's the Fast and the Furious franchise. We're not walking in expecting Oscar glory or anything like that. I get that.
Vin Diesel is.
Well, Vin Diesel is. That's a totally different thing, though. But the thing is, you can't base your movie, like, the plot foundation cannot be based on a logic flaw. Like, literally, the foundation is a plot leap.
But sometimes that's okay. I mean, honestly, I've had a hard time justifying why Ugarte in Casablanca has to give the letters to Rick for the evening. I still have no idea why. I don't explicitly know why. It's kind of a plot hole. They never explain why he has to give them up.
I always assume that, like, they had this they had this previous relationship and trust-ish thing, sort of.
No, he hates him.
Well,
he says so himself. Somehow,
but
because you despise me, you're the only one I trust. But anyway, I can elaborate more on Casablanca if you want me to, Larry, but I assume the viewer does not want me to. But I would say that it's okay. I don't care that it was based off a plot hole, 75% of the movie. It does kind of bother me that it felt tangential. Even though the main villain that you're after, like their target,
that's another issue. That's another issue completely. It just builds. Like, this side quest just builds up in like side things you have to do to, like, just to make it. But, like, the thing is, gun, boom, shot, Statham's done. That's it. You could have and I don't like pointing that out. I am one of the people who loves to just be like, yes, they could have done this and this and this, but there has to be a plot that moves along and things like that.
For the sake of the movie, we can give it a lot of logic.
But it was just like, by the third time, Statham just randomly shows up. It's like, just boom, God. I'm sorry. It was just, it's my only major flaw with the film, is just that. But to be fair, I just want to conclude, the plot does move along all right. I mean, the pacing is fine.
Yeah, but I wasn't ever bored, but I also ever wasn't enthralled.
Never, well, except for the climax. For me,
let's talk about the climax.
Okay, let's move on, because that is kind of plot-ish.
That's my favorite part, for the reason that it's just a dizzyingly complex sequence. I mean, it is amazing how many people are running around doing different things, and they jump around. It is a mess, but in a good way. They pull it off. I was impressed.
Can we let's talk about it a little bit. We have
No. We are not going to try to lay out all that.
It's not hard.
Yes, I don't want to spend the time on it, Larry. It's very complex at how things go down and everything's moving around. It's pretty entertaining just to see where people end up and what they do next.
I guess
because it is elaborate.
I kind of like how the side quest at this point is now just meshing, and it's becoming pointless at this point to have this. It's sort of morphed into it's no longer about this. It's just about surviving, in a sense. This whole thing that's going on, which I did appreciate in a sense. It kind of grounded us back. But can we talk about the action that's going into this climax just for a sec?
Let's just shift right to action.
Oh, let's shift right to action. Okay, so the action is it's very shaky cam. A lot of shaky cam
really?
all over the place.
I thought it was fairly tame. It didn't feel like shaky cam because I guess it was wider. Shaky cam is usually very close. This felt farther away. It was more medium shots and less shaky than most. I always compare it to Hunger Games. Probably the worst offender of the shaky cam, just in its action. The
first one, yes.
Right, yes, of course. Catching Fire didn't have it, and Mockingjay didn't have it. I'm referring to the film Hunger Games.
Yes.
And I think this was much easier to follow, though there were some instances where I couldn't. I will grant you that, where they probably should have calmed down a bit. But for the most part, I followed it. It was entertaining. There were some amazing moments.
Oh, yes. Tons of
my
great
favorite
moments.
shot in the movie is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson grabs Jason Statham and throws him down onto a table, and the camera rotates and slams down with Jason Statham. So it's like we're being thrown, and so the world just revolves around Jason Statham as being smashed into the table. It's a great shot. And
it's wonderful.
It's a technique that I would like to see more of, and it came up in the movie quite a bit, where it locks on one member of the fight, and the world kind of moves. They stay stationary. It's a very cool effect.
I think the action, I would say it has a lot of shaky cam, but the thing about it is that we're in cars, we are in a vehicle that is constantly moving. So in that sense, and I get fighters are constantly moving, but in this sense with the car, I'm okay with the shaky cam. It's obviously being used to give off an effect, and it works. But for the great moments though, for example, Paul Walker's huge, I don't even know how they pull this off. The stunt where he climbs up the truck, jumps into the car. Yeah, the Uncharted 2, essentially. No, it's 2? It's 2.
Yeah, it's 2. It's pretty much Uncharted 2.
Yeah, but they slow it down. The shots stabilize. We start getting slow motion. We see the emotion. Those are the moments where the movie really shines. And I think this is also pretty apparent in Vin Diesel's fight with Jason Statham.
Yeah, you saw it.
The end.
They were good sweeping shots.
Yeah,
appropriately enough, they felt like helicopter shots. It's funny because that helicopter comes in. Yeah. But, I want to say really quick on the action is that it is decently varied. You're going to go in with a lot of car action. But outside of that, the fist fights, they mixed up a bit. What was around they could use or what's the location. And that felt good. It felt like even though a lot of it was just fist, they mixed it up, different styles, different combatants, and so overall, I thought the action was entertaining. But I have to say, this was kind of being heralded as this is the action movie to end all. This is this is the most prestigious this type of action movie can be, and I didn't get amazing action. It was good, but I would say I was a little underwhelmed in that regard. like, I don't know if this should be praised as much as like the best action, you know, because I mean it was good, very good.
I will say certain moments could reach that. I'm not going to say as a whole, but I will say I was pretty invested, and you know, in some moments my heart was really pumping, and it was and the action was, I mean, it's well shot, it's well paced, and
great set pieces.
Oh yeah, oh my god.
I mean, the car smashing through. I really appreciated that. The trailer showed the car going from one skyscraper to the other, but then the movie outdid themselves by having to go through the other one.
They did it again.
But my favorite set piece actually is very small in scale, but I thought it was like the most intense and scary, honestly, was when Paul Walker is fighting. It looked like the head of like kind of their SWAT team, the villain SWAT team, and he tackles him down those stairs. The super long cement stairs that go straight down and they're like on the door. That is intense. That is a ton of velocity. And because they were completely exposed, it felt more intense than they were when they were in cars or something. So, that was my favorite set piece. Even though I expected it to be the car going through the skyscraper, but it was actually the stair. That was intense.
Yeah, I love, and I think I love how like the choreography in those hand fisticuff segments is very good, and I will give them that for sure. I love that the film is really loud, it's really engaging, but at the moments where it slows down, it silences, and like you don't hear anything. And I think that's pretty nice. I think I like that the film sort of took that and, you know, reveled in the silence as well as the noise. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. Silence and noise. That's a good way to put it.
Also, explosions, the movie. I'm just going to point that out.
No. Sorry.
Many explosions.
Oh, there were quite a few explosions. Don't
so
get me wrong,
many.
But Michael Bay will always direct explosions to the movie.
I guess so, but like,
I
don't know. I didn't see Transformers 4. I might be wrong, but like, I felt the impact of the explosions was way more hard-hitting here than in Michael Bay. Maybe it's because Michael Bay is just a joke when it comes to explosions. But I don't know. They felt a lot more impactful and a lot more common here. I don't know. It might have just been me. What else? Okay, so we had the action, the characters, the plot, climax.
Yeah, see, again, I don't know what else I want to say. Like, maybe some side notes. Like,
yeah, okay. Side notes.
Like, okay, there were a lot of butt shots.
Yeah,
and there were a lot of women coming out of water.
Kind of distasteful.
Oh yes, quite. But but what was so weird to me is I'm like, come on, movie, that's, you know, it's objectifying, it's just weird. But then Letty had the most like actual character and development. So it's and another weird thing is that they set up the cat fight where it's like, oh, of course the female one is going to go up against the female bodyguard with all her female henchmen. Seriously, in the hotel, all the guards were women. Well, I mean, hey, cool for equality in your security department. Yeah. So props there. But I was like, oh, of course, it's the cat fight. But then it's a totally legitimate, incredibly well choreographed, not at all like, oh, look at the women. It was a really good fight scene. That was no hearts bar. So it's this weird split of like, at times it's being so pandering and like, hey, butts, right? but then on the other hand, it's doing good things with its admittedly only one major female character, though again, what's her name? Nathalie Emmanuel Ramsey. She had a pretty important role in the last like 40% or third. But so it's weird. So I will say, stop it. We don't need all the butt shots.
If I could,
you know the audience better. So,
if I could, perhaps they are just sort of establishing environment, the sort of the sleaziness of the car races.
Yeah, but
it's a bit of a stretch. I know it's a bit of a stretch. I'm just giving the benefit of the doubt. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It works me a little bit, but at least. And what's weird is that Letty's character was never like over sexualized. Like there weren't any shots of her that were like, oh come on.
The closest it comes is a dress. Literally, like she's very like just lots of leather, lots of very bordered up stuff.
I don't know, Furious 7, do I tell you to do more female characters? Yes, but you're on the right track? I don't know. I was confused because it starts with a lot of butt shots.
On the right track.
But the fact that it starts with all the, ooh, girls, those shots, like really threw me off guard. And then it just kept like doing good things, but then kind of rebounded, and it was confusing. Anyway, we don't have to spend this much time on it. Sorry, I didn't mean for this to take up so much time.
Any other side notes you have?
Dwayne The Rock Johnson is wonderful.
Yeah,
just again.
So much fun. So much fun.
I love how the drone thing is resolved. because the drone's chasing him through the tunnel, and then The Rock crashes off the bridge.
God, that is my favorite scene.
Right, but here's the question, Larry: how did he know that the drone was there?
Look.
There's literally no way to explain that, and I love it.
Well, hey, look. Okay, well, that's kind of minor. In my opinion,
I find it funny. Like,
I think it's hilarious.
I'm not calling the movie out. I'm just saying that's what the kind of movie, guys.
If
you're going into this
movie,
expect the kind of movie where Dwayne The Rock Johnson can drive an ambulance off a bridge, crash into a military-grade drone to save the day, without having any possible way of knowing that drone is there.
And also, it explodes.
Oh yeah. And he's fine.
He's fine, despite the fact that he just came out of the hospital and he broke his cast.
Yep, he just tore off his cast. Like, I don't need this.
He didn't even tear it up. He just he flexed and boom, it was off.
And then he rips the minigun out of the drone and
and he just starts firing. And then that great line, "Woman, I am the cavalry." Like that is the best moment of the film in my opinion. It will easily be marked down as one of the best of the year, hands down. Is that it?
I don't really have much else to say about the movie. Like, again, I enjoyed it, but I was never, like, super invested or, like, thrilled. There were the moments where I'm like, awesome, but on the whole, it was entertaining. It was mildly entertaining, so I say it's worth going. If this is not your type of movie, it does not, like, transcend that. Like, sometimes you can look at, like,
no way.
There are movies that are really clear, like The Dark Knight. Even if you're not into superhero movies, come on, you gotta see Dark Knight. If this isn't your type of movie, some disagree apparently about this series as a whole, maybe not this movie. I don't think that it, like, warrants anyone's attention if you don't think you'll be interested. It doesn't rise above it. It is what it is. Good and bad, I'll acknowledge the bad. It's not a free pass, but if you want to know if you should see it, you already know. You don't need to listen to me. You know what kind of movie it is. That's what you're going to get.
As far as any side notes I have, the comedy was dreadful.
Really?
I mean, not completely.
I think some moments got a laugh.
I am being a little harsh.
But for the most part, it was just kind of.
I think Kurt Russell was funny.
Oh, that is one thing. Sorry, can I quickly, before I forget? Did you appreciate how they completely just avoided the trope of the government betraying them as soon as they got what they wanted?
I didn't really notice it.
Well, I think even the characters acknowledged it, because they handed over God's Eye, right? And all his men are there, and they were, like, tensed up, and I was like, okay, this is the part where he's like, and now I have no use for you, and they have to escape. But then he's like, and now you can use it.
Yeah, but it would have been like really out of character.
Oh, sure, but like it felt like that was coming, so I'm glad they went away with that. But anyway, please continue. Sorry,
it would have been a really bad contrivance, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
If they did
I'm glad that they just sidestepped. It's like, that was the agreement. Here you go.
I just want to point out that Kurt Russell probably wins the award for most entertaining character, yet most pointless. Again, because this movie's foundation is a logic flaw. Again, and he totally works into that. Also, by the way, and I just love how they sort of deal with the government and then nothing comes of it.
Yep.
Like, literally, like, there's
drop it.
Yeah, there's no, like, people know they're working with the government, or, like, other agencies in the government are now questioning why they're working with such freelance people. No, whatever. Just drop it.
Drop it.
Shout out to the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy, who was in this film. Mm-hmm. He did pretty good.
I was hoping was going to leave, survive the movie, and be the next villain in the series, because that would have been cool.
That would have been great.
But he got exploded.
Yeah,
by Vin Diesel. So.
Yes, but he did a pretty good job. He was threatening, to say the least, which is good. And I sort of like that they are in tandem, that him and Statham do eventually go in tandem, because it gives him a bigger force to work with, which is good.
That's again, it for me.
The comedy is like... It's hit or miss, man. It's like, it's really bad because literally there are some scenes directly devoted to it, and some setups that like are just asking for it. Like whenever Tyrese Gibson and it's Ludacris, is that him?
Yeah.
Is that the guy? Whenever they're together, it's just like you're asking for them to have chemistry that's like not that good. I don't know. It's like I wish they could have maybe worked that better. The only other issue I would like to bring up is just the script. Which, honestly, I can't believe that Vin Diesel is giving this movie, like, he wants this movie to win Oscars. Because before I saw this movie, I was like, you know what? It's a little, it's admirable. You know, maybe Furious 7 is actually trying to be an actually good movie. And, like...
Well, it felt so on the nose.
Not only that, though.
Basic.
It wasn't not just because it was basic, but some of the writing is really like not that good. And I think it's and some of the lines are like really cheesy, but the problem is the movie doesn't really feel like that. Like if it went all out in cheesiness and corniness and just crazy action like 100% of the time, lines from like Dwayne The Rock Johnson that are just absolutely ridiculous that nobody would ever say would totally pass. But not here. And I think the movie has too many moments like that for it to be excusable. In my opinion. But that's it, pretty much for me. I want to work off of what you said, Sean. This movie does not transcend anything.
That's a good way to put it. It doesn't transcend its genre. It doesn't transcend what your expectations will be, but it's fine. Yeah,
in fact, it's kind of a roller coaster ride. Like, some moments are actually really good, and then some are really bad. But for the most part, the movie pretty much borderlines to exactly what it sounds like it would be. Like, my expectations. I mean, I know, like, expectations for a movie to be kind of bad are not really good to have. But it's Fast and the Furious. You don't have a good reputation of making Oscar-worthy films. You're not going to have me with the seventh one. But I mean, I will give them credit. There's clearly a lot of heart in the project. It's not like...
Absolutely.
It's not like, I'm just doing this to make money. But it's fine. It's fun for a movie night for you and your friends. Sure. Great action. Definitely is going to have you on the edge of your seat at some moments. But again, I think my 6.5 stands pretty much. It certainly has some flaws, but I can excuse it for being an enjoyable experience. Mm-hmm. And Sean, you have any other words to say, or I think we're good?
No, I guess it's just, this is Furious 7. It's not... It's kind of set in stone what it is. It's been doing it the past 6. Good or bad, and it's done better or worse, across the series, I've heard. But, yeah, go in expecting, what you think, and you're not going to be disappointed, but don't, expect transcendence of its genre. But that's not a bad thing. If you enjoy this, go for it. Because I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
Let me say this. This year, the back half of this year has some incredibly... There's some huge blockbusters with amazing potential for like depth and stuff, including like Age of Ultron, Star Wars Episode 7, all this. Oh, Spectre has some potential. This doesn't have that element. You're not going to get anything much deeper than its surface value. But hey, if you like the surface value, go for it. Because again, I enjoyed it. It's just don't expect it to rise above just loud cars, enjoyable but kind of dumb action summer blockbuster. It kicked off the summer movie season fairly well, though.
Yeah, I'll say that. I mean, I'm going to be honest. This year in movies has been really dull.
Yeah, we've done 2 reviews.
Yeah, honest to God.
It's April. It is April.
It's March was so reviews. Barren. It's like, I haven't been, before Furious 7, I hadn't gone to a movie theater in like a month and a half.
I hadn't gone since Kingsman.
Oh my God, that's like...
Right?
Yeah, I have never had that long of a drought for a movie theater before. Like, I didn't want to go out to see, like Cinderella. My family wants to see that, but I literally had so little interest in it, I'd rather be sitting here watching Liar, Liar. Like, it's reached that level. So it was nice and refreshing to go see a movie again, but not only that, have one that does have some substance in certain aspects of it. So, it was nice. I mean, I had a fun time. Me and my friends got a kick out of it. Sure. Oh man, I look forward to F8, which funny enough sounds like
it's
Fate.
So good. Fate, do it.
Yeah,
do it.
F8. Do it. It would work so well. Honestly, I don't know what they're gonna do for F9. Maybe just Furious 9 or Fast 9, whatever. But then FFX. Obviously.
FFX. You gotta use FFX.
Yeah. So, anyway, this has been the Furious 7 review on Rule Thirds. Thanks for listening, guys. We don't know what we're gonna be giving you next, but whatever it is,
we should tell people coming up. We have our Age of Ultron review. I'm getting unbelievably excited for that.
Yeah, we have a lot of interesting stuff to discuss.
Yes, and we're also going to have an episode after that, which is like the future of the MCU, which is going to work in Daredevil, which I just watched the pilot and was kind you underwhelmed. So
really,
yeah,
you were
I know,
underwhelmed?
I saw your tweet. That's for a different time,
man.
Larry, wrap it up.
I will. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yes, please look forward to that. We haven't done an MCU and not much MCU related in a while, so it'll be nice to get back on the topic. And also, if you want to refresh your memory on our thoughts on the MCU and things like that, we have so many podcast episodes.
Yeah,
just
just
look
scroll
up
through,
Marvel,
like-
or just search Marvel or Marvel Cinematic Universe. You'll find literally a detailed analysis of every film to give you an idea. So anyway, that is our review of Furious 7. Thanks for listening. As always, my name is Larry.
And my name is Sean.
And, hey, Sean, race it to the end of the podcast.
I don't know how to do that.
I tried.
It confused me.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. Max would probably just say,
This intro.
see you. So, bye.
In your honor, Max. See you.
See you.